G'day everyone, Dan from Aussie Garage here. Yeah, we thought it was probably about time you guys had a look into one of our garages, so here we are. This is my shed. I'm here with my wife's 1979 Cortina. We've had this car for probably close to 20 years now, so it's been in the family a long time. Got some goodies for it now at this stage in life. It's getting a bit of a refresh. So we're going to throw a turbo on this one. I'm going to keep the original 250 alloy head motor. We're not going to go barras or anything like that at this stage. Just want to see what the old motor can do. So yeah, we've got a few little chores today. One is to basically dummy up the manifold and the turbo. But yeah, so let's get into that. We'll have a look at what we got. All right, so here's our table of stuff to do today. So here's a turbo manifold that I managed to get through a friend in the panel van club, funnily enough. He had this turbo set up in a XC panel van, so luckily he had the turbo manifold and everything sitting there. I had originally had a piece cut to make my own manifold, but I'm glad I don't have to do that. That's going to save a lot of work. We've got the Pulsar turbo back there, GDX 3584RS Gen 2. Blah blah. This head here, it's a brand new reconditioned head, but for purposes at the moment it's just going to be a mock-up head. I won't use this one, I've got another head that I'm going to use, and I've got to make some room to get that intercooler in today. I've done my measurements, hopefully they're all going to be good. As far as the bay goes, we've got Josh coming around this week to start making a custom intake manifold, so I need to get this stuff all dummied up, and I need to clean up all this old nitrous gear and stuff. We were running nitrous at one point, but we'll need to change that setup now. We're going to EFI instead of carby. Yeah, so that's the old head gasket. That's what happens when we ran a bit of nitrous through it. So that was basically the reason it got pulled down in the first place. We thought we damaged it more than we did. Thankfully we didn't. All right, so I'm going to put the head on, put the manifold on, dummy that up. We may have a clearance issue with the brake booster. I'm not sure about that yet. So that's all to be seen. So, yep. So that worked out pretty good. Everything's on, everything bolted up. We've got clearance here, probably about a finger. That might be enough. We'll put a beanie on that and see how we go. Or we may relocate the brake booster yet. I've been looking into that, so we'll see if that's a viable option. The turbo has a little bit of a clearance issue just here on the manifold, but we could just shave a little bit off the manifold. I've got plenty of thickness on the wall there. And also, I haven't got a gasket on this yet, so that'll also pick it up a little bit, which will help us sort that. All right, I think I'm going to jump into this stuff next and get that out of the way. And then I'll see about mounting this intercooler. So it was pretty straightforward. That's all tidied up. Plenty of room there for Josh now to work. This is everything we took out. It's your fuel solenoid, nitrous solenoid, fuel regs, It'll be a different setup as we go forward, but we'll probably reuse some of that stuff maybe. But now it's time to get this thing, start looking at that. So, got to do a few things here. We're going to have to reroute this wiring here because it's not going to let us. I got the biggest intercooler I could to fit in this gap here. So I really stretched it with exactly what I could fit. I need to, the inlet and outlets actually are a little bit wider than this space, so I'll have to drill a hole and hopefully I can just shimmy it in. But yeah, I think I've done all my measurements. I think I should be pretty good. So I'm going to have to reroute this wiring. There's a few other things I'm going to have to move here or there, and see if we can't find a spot for it to sit there nicely. So yeah, so that's next. Alright, so while I'm fluffing about here, getting this wiring sorted out and pulled back through, I thought I'd give you guys a brief history on the car. I bought the car for my wife back in probably 2002, I'd reckon. She was doing university at the time, so she needed just a run around. And a good friend of mine had this stashed in a backyard somewhere. It was blue, it had an orange door and an orange guard that we pilfered off another car because the door and guard had been taken out. And I think we paid about $200 for it. We then proceeded to tidy it up, rebuild the engine, and that was about it at that point in time. And then we drove it around, used it for a fair while, and then when it came time to decide what to do with it, the decision was made to do her up. So, hang on a second. Yeah, so we decided at that point to do her up, so that's when it got its paint job and became hothouse green. The engine didn't change any at that point. We didn't do anything with the motor at that point. Zoe, my wife, went to work picking a colour. She liked the hothouse green that was coming out on the Commodores at the time, so that was her pick. So we had the hothouse green made up. We got a little bit of extra gold metallic put in it and a bit of a coarser gold metallic in it just to make it a little bit different, a little bit unique, a bit more of that gold shimmer in the sun. Oh, that's a blade. Yeah, so that was all her doing. She wanted a light interior for it, so hence the light interior, the beige interior. So that was done. I had trim shop in Canberra at that point. So we did that in our spare time. I've got photos of Zoe somewhere, and she's, I think it must have been probably, it would have been close to the minuses, would have been -1 or 2. She's out at the workshop in a flannelette shirt, wet sanding this thing, getting it ready for paint. I'll see if I can dig that photo up. Yes, that's when it got its first revamp. Like I said, we did nothing with the motor at that point. So once we drove it around for a couple of years with that original little 200 in it, and then I did a deal with a friend in Canberra, another mate in Canberra who was a pretty good with engines. So he rebuilt the motor for me and had it all. So it became a 200 stroker at that point. So it had a 250 crank, 200 rods, ACCL pistons. It had about 10.2 to 1 compression ratio from memory. Just had a 2-barrel carby on it back then, like a Holly 500 or something like that. And it went all right. It went pretty good, but years later we put a 4-barrel on it. That really opened it up. It did well after that. Yeah, so 20 odd years we've had it. It's sat around for a long time, unfortunately, just as they do sometimes. These old cars, they just don't get gotten to. But so now the plan is I've been just slowly turning it into my personal little race car, and I'm more than happy with that arrangement. So I will be trying to get the wife behind the wheel at some point. I don't think she knows what she's missing yet. She's a bit reluctant, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, there's a lot more about this car, you know, but that's the basic history of it. That's basically where it came from and to where it is now. So yeah, I'll just keep on keeping on with it. I want to go roll racing with this thing. I'm not far from the raceway here, so that'll be a bit of fun. And as far as the engine goes, I've got a Haltech guy lined up. I want to get them coil packs, so I do want to change the distributor setup so I can run coil packs. Haven't worked that one out 100% yet, but there seem to be plenty of options out there. Just need to work out what's right for this. Other than that, turbo, intercooler, homemade inlet manifold. It's already got a C4 in it, shift kit. The diff is still the 6-cylinder Cortina diff. That's been okay for now. We might need to change that. We'll see how long it takes us to break it. That would be the big thing. And yeah, for now, that's it. So the boss has arrived, inspect me work. Okay, I'm going to call that today. I don't have a big enough hole saw to cut the size hole I want in the side pieces to get the intercooler to fit. I've done my measuring and that sort of thing, so rather than forge ahead with what I've got, I'm going to get the right tool. It's unusual. But yeah, so that gets the ball rolling with this thing. Josh is going to come around this week, hopefully, and we're going to start on the manifold, the inlet manifold. So that'll be the next sort of mission, that and finishing off getting the intercooler in. I've got that wiring out of the way, so that'll need to be rerouted and that sort of thing. But duty calls, so that will have to be another day. Remember everyone, like, share and subscribe. We do like bringing you this sort of content, so if you support us, we can continue to do so. But that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.